Okay, let's talk MLC then, Harmy. MI New York looked like they were going to finish bottom when they won five out of their first. They lost five out of their first six games, but they've come storming back and beaten the in-form Washington Freedom in the final to win their second title, their second MLC title in 3 years. Interesting game, interesting tournament actually. Quinton de Kock's been very, very quiet for MI New York, but made 77 in the final. Still, Washington Freedom had Glenn Maxwell at the crease at the end, and seemed to have the run chase well in hand, replying to 180. They finished 175 for five. Glenn Mitchell just couldn't get going. And Maxwell proved that sometimes the ball just stubbornly refuses to hit the middle of the bat. I mean, he's made 15 off 16 balls. He's made 50 off 16 balls in the past, but it just could barely hit it off the square. Curious. It happens.
It does happen, and it was. I thought the pitch didn't look too bad. I thought the pitch looked okay for the final. And I say that because it's been a good tournament. It's not a long tournament, but there's not as many pitches, and you constantly playing the same ones. It tends to happen as the tournament gets on. The final and the semi-finals become a little bit more tired, the pitches, and the scores aren't as big. Bear in mind, we've seen a score of 260 in one of the games, which was madness. But I mean, that is bowlers going. That is the bowler's graveyard. So, but no, you pay the money for the big boys, and the big boys, in Quinton de Kock, he stood up. I mean, the freedom, God, I mean, they had the tournament, didn't they? I mean, they were walking the tournament. After five games, they were the top of the table, and winning comfortably. And then when they got to the final, even at the end, I think there were 150. There were 150. They had 25 off the last two, I think 2.4 overs, two and a half overs. And with Glenn Phillips and Glenn Maxwell at the crease, you're going, I mean, it should just be, give it to the freedom all day long. But unfortunately, the bowler can win. And I can't pronounce his Agarka, I think his name is. His skill sets at the end there was fantastic. So as much as a batter can whack it out of the park, and in franchise cricket, majority of the times they do whack it out of the park. If you've got a death bowler, if you've got somebody with skills and tricks, they're worth their weight in gold. And we've seen it so many times, the likes of who we've been watching, Bumrah in the IPL and Rabada and people like that. Death bowlers are worth their just as much as a top order batter who's going to score your runs. So brilliant from de Kock. He probably deserved to be on the winning side. And it's been great to get snippets. We haven't seen them all. It's been on the cricket YouTube channel. And it's been a tournament which I've thoroughly enjoyed. What I've seen, the crowds were up. A few messages back and forward for Liam Plunkett. He's really enjoyed it, and we heard from Johnny Graves at the start of the tournament about what we thought we were going to get, and I'd be interested if we can track him down and get him on next week or the week after and see if he thinks it's gone better than he thought it was going to be, because obviously he left the Cricket West Indies to go there. But all in all, from a distance and from what I saw, it's been well done by obviously talkSPORT's YouTube channel, and it's also been a good tournament for the players that have been involved. And a final didn't disappoint because I think there was some drama towards the end.
Just quickly, your impression on how well it's establishing itself in the global market, in the global calendar. You would have heard from players. Obviously, Liam Plunkett is a good old mate of yours, and he's still going strong. But we covered the tournament right at the very beginning when it was just getting off the ground, and we spoke to a couple of owners, didn't we? They said that it was a 3 to 5 year project, that they weren't expecting to make money. They are paying big salaries, and I know for a fact, let's be brutally honest about it, that there are some big names who are primarily motivated by the check, by the salary, but there are many others. Many who began their careers in other countries who are really very, very much established and feeling at home. And this isn't just a one-off tournament. There's minor league cricket as well. They play a lot of games, a lot of cricket. And from what I'm hearing, I mean, Heinrich Klaassen retired from international cricket. He absolutely loves the Seattle Orcas. They say they look after him and his family incredibly well. He was asked why he hadn't accepted a bigger offer from one of the other franchises, and he said, "Because I'm happy. I love the tournament. I'm really enjoying it." And it is only 3 years, so I'm not wanting to tempt fate, but it seems to have found itself a little niche window, and it seems to be going pretty well after 3 years.
I think it'll be. I think it'll rocket, me. I think it's going to go. It's going to go right to the top. I mean, you've just mentioned three or four names there. In the final, you had Kieran Pollard. Not to stick the boot into Michelle Patrick Hewitt, but you had the likes of Kieran Pollard and Nicholas Pooran playing in the obviously in the final. You had Glenn Maxwell and the other team in the Freedom team. So you throw in Heinrich Klaassen there. There's some big names there, some stellar names in world cricket in the white ball format who have gone over to America. And do you know what I look at it, man? As not, I'm not going to say anybody's names here, but there's a couple of people who I've spoke to who played in the SA20, who might not have gone to the IPL, who much rather enjoy the SA20, who will much rather enjoy the MLC, because yes, they'll get paid possibly a quarter, a quarter, I mean 2/3 of what they'd get in the IPL for a similar amount of, for a little bit less time. But the quality of life and the way of life is far much better. So if you're an international player and you get a window and somebody's going to offer you some money to go and play in the IPL, I mean and it's not a criticism of the IPL, not far from it, but the actual lifestyle quality when you're across there, you are in. I mean, it is a roller coaster. I mean, you're in a hotel where you can't leave. You're on a bus. You're on a bus to a ground where it's just wall to wall, street to street, noise and emotion. Where you go over to America, nobody has a clue who you are. Really, they don't. You can take your family. You can go and play golf every day. You can walk, sightsee and everything that goes with it. Go to South Africa and you can go to the parks, and you can go to the golf course, and you can live on estates like Pearl Valley and play at Pearl for a fraction of the price. But the quality of life that you have with your family, I can see a lot more players choosing that route rather than the IPL. If they're not one of the big names in the IPL. So if somebody's a middle rung player in the IPL or a lower rung player in the IPL, and he's got a young family, I can see them going to America, and I can see them going to South Africa to take the money to understand that, get a better way of life, and a little bit less of the what's the I mean, less noise in what
Yeah.
Indian cricket can be.
And there's just so much money at stake, and players feel that, and and it's brutal and it's ruthless and it's unforgiving, and reputations count for very little. And it's a tough gig, the IPL. And I'd like to say that I think most people earn every single one of the dollars that they get paid.
Mm.
It's a lot of them. Now we have to move on, and this is a story that I would like to have dedicated a whole section to, so maybe we can come back to it. Harmy, we've only got 2 minutes to discuss the fact that Italy have qualified for the T20 World Cup. It's absolutely magnificent story. Yes, of course, it's a minority niche sport, but it has been played in the country for many, many years. And, I mean, there are so many things I want to say. Joe Burns has captained the team with such passion, and
Mm.
people think, well, he's Australian. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was born in Australia, played 23 tests for Australia, and scored 4 test hundreds, by the way, which is a pretty good return from 23 tests. But his grandparents emigrated from Europe to Australia after the Second World War. He still feels very connected, albeit not for the last couple of generations, to Italy. He's incredibly proud of his Italian roots. Um, Same with Grant Stewart. There were 6 Australian-born players in that Italian team that qualified. Emilio Gay, Durham opener.
Mhm.
Harry Manenti played. You can see, you can hear that he's got Italian roots.
Yeah.
Played a couple of BBL games. But Joe Burns, just dedicated his life. His brother Dominic tragically passed away last year, and he moved to Italy and committed himself to getting the team to the T20 World Cup. And you know, he just said, okay, I don't mind if some of you are amateur, and I don't mind if we get beaten, but I want us to be the best prepared team when we get to the T20 World Cup. It's just a magnificent story. Not expecting them to make the make the knockout stages, but you know what? There is a real Italianness about it. I suppose that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. It's a great story. During my time at Durham, we had Michael Di Benito who went over and played some cricket for Italy, and like we found out, Manners, we found out in a brilliant way during that first Test match at Headingley, sitting on a balcony, and more messages coming in from all over the world, listening to the overseas commentary of England versus India. It's a global game. It's not played by 12 test countries. It's a global game. And not long ago, I was in Guernsey, and I had to present the caps for players who had represented Guernsey in the last 4 years. And I think there's about 40 odd caps. And, these guys are so passionate about the game of cricket. They love watching the icons, like the series that we're doing at this moment in time. But there is also a pathway through, and talk so much passionately when Mohamed Nabi wins another game against a new country, because he's played against that many countries to get to where he is. There's a pathway through. Afghanistan came from the very, very bottom to being one of the, throughout the 2020, the T20 format, to being, it wouldn't surprise me in my lifetime if Afghanistan don't win a trophy, especially under Jonathan Trott. So Italy have a chance to build something, and the building something has to start from somewhere. And
Okay.
Joe Burns, who's done that in such a way where he feels as though this is the blueprint and this is the other platform we have to do it from.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and there's funding coming apparently from the Italian Olympic Committee to help create a more structured grassroots game and system in the country. It's absolutely fantastic. Final word, Scott's in my ear. It's telling me we're out of time, but I've got to say, I don't know who Casey Aldridge and Archie Bailey are, but I'm told that they've been identified as future England fast bowlers and all-rounder. And they're both going to Durham. They've both been signed by Durham. So what is it? You've got 30 seconds about Durham that makes it the fast bowler's choice as finishing academy.
Well, it's not so much the finishing academy. Durham's been a great fast bowling producer of them. And I've always said it's coming from mining towns, mining villages, hard workers. Hard workers produce fast bowlers, because like we've seen Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, Bryden Carson, Chris Wilkes this week, along with the Indian bowlers, bowling is difficult, especially playing on pitches like what we've had in the last two Test matches. He strong enough at one discipline. Well, going to Durham's finishing school for fast bowlers, he might just tip the balance when it comes towards an England selection, hopefully for Casey.
You've been listening to Following On here on talkSPORT 2 with me, Neil Manthorp, along with Double Ashes winner Steve Harmison. And we'll be back at the same time next week to look back to look ahead to the fourth Test between England and India at Old Trafford. But for now, this has been another shortened edition of Following On.